Good evening, all. So, we're pretty likely here to see a little bit further capitulation in both Ethereum and Bitcoin. But if we just zoom out a bit and stick to the higher time frame, you can see that this is still within corrective territory. So you see a bit of a pullback, bit of a kiss off a probably 111 area. Um, Absolute worst case scenario would be 105, I think. I don't really see this playing out. I would expect to see some form of pretty harsh V reversal at some point soon. So you're kind of looking for something along the lines of last breakdown to here, and then you get a flick back up to the upside. Whether that is as sharp as that, or you kind of see this area around here hit first, and a little bit of noise, bit of price action first. We'll have to kind of wait and see, but definitely more scope for movement to the downside here. On Ethereum, I would really, to be honest, like to see this area here see the bounce. So you get this move, then you get a little bit of a flick out, and this should kind of set up for a little bit of a manipulative move here, and either another kiss off and break down to here, or you actually have lift off from there. Looking at some of these alts, they're pretty much in the same position, expecting to crash into local support around here. And what you've seen on the shorter time frame on some of these is pretty textbook TA, to be honest. You've had this extremely aggressive move up, which is what I call the Eiffel Tower. And then on this bounce here, once you've got these areas filled, which I'm not going to go into full detail about, but it's just essentially your horizontal trend lines. Once you've kissed off these, you've then broke straight through this level of support, kissed off there, and then away you go. And very similar situation with Tau. You had this little area here, which was consolidating. Once you breached, you kissed off, and then away you go as well. So you've also got this X crossover at the bottom with Tau, which should technically see a little bit of support on the short term. But I also wouldn't be surprised if you see Tau in the early 300s as well. I think Tau looks probably one of the more rougher charts. But to be honest, this is all heavily backed by the bond market at the moment. You can see yields are collapsing and probably will continue to collapse over the probably coming weeks. But at some point you should see a bounce. Highly likely we're going to see some form of at least stagnant or rising inflationary data. Once you get that, you should see a little bit of a flick off to the upside as well. So yeah, pretty much corrective behavior based on bonds drawing it in, poor economic data, all the different changes in the jobs reports and stuff. It's just creating the perfect environment for the monetary policy to match what fiscal policy has recently done, and that is pump more money into the system, which, let's be honest, we've all been waiting for. Whether it's a good or bad thing, it's an inevitable outcome in the end. So we've had the perfect move here on the dollar as well. So if you just look at this perfect, this is what I call the wonky W, break off into here. This is the key level. You've brought back down. Chances are this is going to kind of start bleeding off towards these areas and probably lower again as well. So yeah, a bit more fallen, bit of an extreme bounce in the coming weeks, coming days potentially. And then once you get that bounce, we'll then get the rally. Once you start getting the rally up in Bitcoin, you should start heading into the 120, 122k, Ethereum around the 4.1k. And once you've had then a rejection in these levels, that's where you should start to see alts probably selling off. And once you see these selling off, you probably take these lows out, get a V reversal in the end again, and that's where the liquidity starts to truly enter the market at that point. So short term, a little bit of a bounce off, some more further falling, and longer term, big daddy fall to come just before the liquidity starts hitting the market. Best way to create liquidity to the upside is to drown the market essentially. So yeah, hope that makes sense, everyone, and yeah, peace out.